Juicy meatballs from Maria and Enzo's in Disney Springs, heading your way on Cindy Certified Recipes.
Welcome everybody to Cindy Certified Recipes. If you've ever been to Disney World and wandered over to Disney Springs, you might have seen a nice little Italian restaurant called Maria and Enzo's, and they make a very tasty meatball. And that's whose meatballs we're making today. But before we get to that, if you enjoy watching my videos, I would sure appreciate if you guys hit that subscribe button and then also touch that notification bell so you don't miss a single video. Now let's get to these meatballs. So we're gonna get started with our panade, which is basically your torn up 1 pound crusty loaf without the crust and 12 ounces of milk. So I'm just gonna pour that in there, give it a toss. And that's gonna sit while I put some other things together, but I wanna get all those soaked up in that milk. Okay. And what I always think is best, they don't mention this in the recipe, but anytime I deal with mixing ingredients into meat is I like to mix the ingredients first because you don't want to overmix the meat. Overmixing the meat is kind of like overmixing bread. It'll get tough on you, and no one likes tough meatballs, right? So we're going to start off with my eggs, and it calls for 3 eggs, and I can't get these all the time, but this time I got my lovely blue eggs, and you might check out that video when you get a chance. So we're going to start by putting those in the bowl here. They have those beautiful, just beautiful golden yolks. And then I'm gonna put in, this is about a small to medium onion. It calls for 7 to 8 ounces of onion. And everything you do for the meatballs, you wanna chop really fine, because you don't wanna be eating a meatball and get a big chunk of onion or big chunk of anything. You want it to be nice and yummy. So, gonna go with that, and then I also have here 5 cloves of garlic, and the majority of it I grated because that's how fine I wanted it, and then it gets down too low and I just have to mince the rest so I don't mince my fingers. So that's 5 cloves, pretty good sized cloves of garlic. And then this is 1 cup of ricotta cheese. And whenever I cook dairy and use dairy, I always buy the whole version. I don't like skim milk, anything. It just tastes wrong. So I buy the whole milk ricotta. Believe me, it tastes so much better. And this is about 2 tablespoons of parsley, and that's a lot of meat, so a little extra. And this is a teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, and a teaspoon of really fine, I used Celtic salt, sea salt, and a teaspoon of black pepper. And this is a teaspoon, and they call to slightly roast the fennel seeds. And so I crushed them a little too. They didn't say that, but I did it. And so that's a teaspoon of crushed and roasted fennel seeds that I just did real lightly on the stove in a pan until they started turning a little brown. And then 1 cup of Parmesan cheese. So I'm gonna mix all that up. Use a bigger spoon. You wanna get that all mixed up really well, all those spices. It's gonna look kind of like a paste. See how that kind of looks. Okay, and now let's get back to our panade. And you're just going to take your fork and mash up that bread now that it's soaked up the milk. And by the way, before I started doing all this, I got my oven preheating to 400. They call to bake the meatballs rather than frying them in a skillet. Okay, that's looking good. So now I can start adding all this to my meat. And so the meat they call for, normally, like if I do a meatloaf, I'll do the pork, the veal, equal amounts, and the ground beef. But they actually call for 2 pounds of veal, the pork, and the beef. So a little different, but veal makes such a decadent meatball. So it's definitely worth going with that extra pound of veal. And so I'm actually gonna get that going just a little bit, roughly. There we go. Not too much, like I said, you don't want to overwork it. And I'm gonna put our panade in there, breadcrumbs and milk. That over there. And then the mixture that we just made. And you're gonna get that going. I like to kind of smush it in there with the spoon a little bit before I get my hands in there. This is going to make a lot of meatballs. And what I did is I just took some parchment paper and put it on my pans, so that way they're a little easier to take out when they're cooked. Okay, guess what? Now it's get your hands dirty time. And you're just gonna lift and squeeze. You wanna get all those ingredients into that meat. A little bit like kneading dough. Oh, it smells so good. And they're not even cooked yet. And what's great about these meatballs is you can make them and eat them right away, any way you like, or you can just make a huge batch, which you can see this makes a huge batch, and freeze them in a single layer in the freezer for later. They easily keep quite a long time, like a couple months easy in the freezer. So great little versatile meatball recipe. They go with about any kind of sauce you could throw at them, you know, tomato sauce or my spaghetti sauce. Gravy even, with mashed potatoes, barbecue sauce as a cocktail, appetizer meatball, or some people like putting grape jelly on them, heating them up. So, very versatile meatball. And they're almost there. That's looking really, really good. Couple more tosses. Here we go. And what I like to do, it kind of gives it extra flavor, is after you've mixed it like this, is to stick it in the fridge like 30 minutes before you start doing your meatballs, and then the meat really gets all those flavors. So we're gonna get that in the fridge and be back in just a few minutes. We're back and our meat has been resting in the refrigerator and all those flavors are coming together. And I have a little bowl here of olive oil that I'm gonna put some on my hands to make it easier to make these meatballs. And I got just a little spoon here. And you know, you see all the time, people will weigh it or, you know, get a scoop to make sure they're even. You know, it's a general golf ball size is what you're going for here. And, you know, kind of the rustic, not all the same is kind of cool in my opinion. You don't want a totally uniform meatball. It looks like something you bought at the store. So about a little spoonful like that and run it through your hands and get it in the pan. And we're just gonna do that with all this meat here, and I got 2 pans, and then we'll get it in that oven. All right, that's our first batch, and I'm gonna put these in the oven and they're gonna roast for about 20 minutes and then we'll be right back. All of our beautiful meatballs are out of the oven and I swear I wish there was smell-o-vision. This house just smells so great. And these are the beauties that you've been working toward. There's about 36 of them, a few missing. And this is the stage now that you can either make them into something or put them in a single layer and lightly cover them and freeze them, and then you can take them out once they've frozen and just put them in a bag. But I want to show you, of course I can't make these without making my spaghetti meat sauce, aka bolognese. So I made a big pot of that. And what I like to do when I make meatballs is make this meatball parm. It's so delicious, you guys. So it's just super simple. You just buy these little rounds of bread and you toast them up and cut the lid off like that. So you got that. And you fill it up with a little sauce and put however many meatballs you want to cram in there, and then melt some cheese on there and some more Parmesan cheese. In fact, I'll put a little more on there because, you know, you gotta have more Parmesan cheese. And you're ready to dive in. So enjoy this, you guys. It's so good.
I really enjoy when I can share actual restaurant recipes with you. I hope you try them soon. And as always, if it's time tested, top-notch ingredients, and the talk of the table, it's Cindy certified.